Hello again, Struckbub. Today I'm bringing you another build video, and this one is for Godfall, and it's my first build video for Godfall. I've decided to call it the Void Overleech. It's a Moebius Valorplate build that's using the dual blades, and it's stacking a ton of Overhealth bonuses and healing bonuses. You can skip to certain parts of the build by using the timestamps in the description or just clicking on the chapters on the seek bar in the YouTube player. So what do I mean by stacking a lot of Overhealth bonuses? So there's a bunch of augments for Overhealth on crit. There's an amulet that keeps healing us when we crit. In general, I focused this build around chance to curse, damage to cursed, void damage, chance to crit damage, and on top of that I've also added Overhealth on crit, healing on crit, and Overhealth on parry and things like that. So it's a very good build, very fun build. I'm not sure whether it's meta, but with my friends on hard mode in the tower I managed to reach 43, and we could have even went higher and higher if we stayed as the whole team, if we didn't have to leave. But for solo, the only thing I think could be fine on easy but not on hard would be Suaris. Suaris is not something I would recommend doing in co-op with this build. It's just a weird boss. It's a weird boss that's not well done with this build. If you do it on solo on easy, Suaris is not hard, but if you do it on hard solo or on normal and hard in a team, even on normal and easy in a team, it's kind of annoying to do Suaris. So the only thing I wouldn't suggest this build for is Suaris. The thing I suggest the build the most for is co-op Tower of Trials. So let's go to the skills and gear and things like that, starting with the gear. Let's talk about the gear I'm using right now first. Keep in mind my gear is not perfect, it's not entirely min-maxed, it's not the best in SWAT in every single SWAT, but in some SWATs I believe it is the best in SWAT, at least for the way I like to play the build. So first of all, also keep in mind there is currently a bug in the game where certain things, when you upgrade them, will not actually give you an upgrade. For example, when upgrading augments for upgrade level 3, you would get 0 or 1% increase in the stat in question, and that also applies to charms, amulets and rings. I think banners as well, and sometimes life stones would also not work. So let's say 95% of the time when you upgrade to level 3 something that's not a weapon, chances are you're either gonna get 0 increase in the stat that you're upgrading, or you would get like 1% or 2% increase. For example, on chance to curse, from 7% it would go to maybe 8%, but mostly it would go to 7. So let's start with the weapons. I'm using Rexara's Teeth, legendary dual blades, which are actually not legendary, they're purple. I didn't have any better void DPS dual blades. There are a few options and I'm gonna quickly show you. Ideally you would probably be using the legendary tower dual blades, something like this. With 2 primary affixes, which could be anything that you like. Obviously shield won't work for me, but you would want a void version of this. A void version of this could work well with something like Mark of Leeching, or anything else could work fine. I think Mark of Leeching would be pretty decent though, if you get it. So this is the one I'm using here. Where is it? That's the one I'm using. So you would have to enchant it from purple to legendary. Find yourself one with void. Another option would be to use this one, because we would be doing marks, so this would work well with the build. And another thing you could try and upgrade would be this one for more healing, although I think this healing is not going to be as good because we're focusing mostly on Overhealth. We have enough healing as it is with the amulet, which you're gonna see in a moment. And this is another option. I think it's pretty fun to try this option. While inner focus is active, you do 46% or etc% more damage, but you take more damage as well. And you're always gonna be taking 25% more damage, but the damage you do, you can see it goes between 41 all the way to 46. Not sure if it can go to 50. This one's even 47. So if you're going for the legendary tower duo primary affix blades, they can roll with this one as well. Alternatively, there are duo blades that are blue, but I'm not sure whether it's gonna be amazing to try and use them. But there are those that you might want to try, and I wouldn't suggest going for a green to upgrade the green, but it could work. It could work if you have something that you like on a green and you just want a primary like this one, rampage charge speed or things like this. It could work, but they're kind of underwhelming. The green ones are kind of underwhelming, but you can try and upgrade a blue, enchant a blue or a purple. And keep in mind, enchant first, upgrade later. For any piece of equipment, enchant first. If you don't like what you get from the enchant, try a new one. Don't waste resources on upgrading something before enchanting it to only see that the enchant gives you a bad stat. I would suggest for the hammer, a hammer with a bubble. I'm using this one because it's my upgraded one, and it's not bad. It gives me crit chance, crit damage, and it gives me mark of weakness alongside the bubble. Keep in mind, this hammer you can only get with the 2 primary affixes from the tower. The Ascended Tower of Trials. I'm not sure if the regular tower drops it, but the Ascended definitely does. Keep in mind, if you want the bubble, you can also get it on a Darkstar Crusher. So if you get a void damage Darkstar Crusher, that's good enough. I don't have one. I'm still trying to get a Darkstar Crusher with void, or an Obsidian Pack Mo with void. They're good. As long as you have the bubble and then something else and some good stats like crit chance, crit damage, or damage versus cursed, or chance to inflict curse, or a weapon technique, charge speed, and things like that, that's fine. See, one of the must-have items in my opinion is Mark of the Duelist. I don't think this build would work as well without Mark of the Duelist. Mark of the Duelist is a blue amulet. It's a blue amulet, and let me just show you, and you would just have to keep enchanting until you find a good one. For example, this one is a very good candidate to upgrade, because you need crit chance for this build, you need to crit to heal, and you need to crit to do Overhealth healing, which you would see later in the Augments segment. So this one works perfectly well as a candidate to upgrade. And this crit chance. One with chance to curse, which was mine, is fine as well. So I took one with that gives me chance to inflict curse, because it's needed for the build as well. And then I enchanted it, and I got health recovery. And I was like, well, I don't have a better one, might as well keep enchanting. And I enchanted it again to get legendary. And then I got crit damage, and then I started upgrading, and the crit damage while upgrading from 20 I think moved to 21, or maybe it was from 21 to 21, and I kept upgrading, and then at level 5 I got extra crit damage, and I was like, okay, it's not so bad. The only thing that's wasted here is the health recovery. I would have preferred to have crit chance or something else there. But yeah, another option that you can try and use is the Sunsteel Crest, which is the obvious legendary amulet, and that lets you drain the enemy strength whenever you hit a cursed enemy. Drained enemies deal less damage, and your damage is increased for 20 seconds. This is also pretty decent. I still would prefer Duelist Mark. I still would prefer the Mark of the Duelist. I think in my opinion it's the best in SWAT, but I will test when I get a good roll from the Curse Amulet as well. Here this is apply the Mark of Leeching whenever you inflict Curse, which is pretty amazing, if you ask me. And this is a purple charm. A purple charm that looks like this, you would have to enchant. So find yourself one with good rolls. Mine had crit damage, chance to inflict curse, and take down damage. And then I'm not sure what got added. I think actually it had crit hit damage and chance to inflict curse, and when I enchanted I got takedown damage. And I was like, okay, I don't have a better with crit damage and chance to inflict curse, might as well take what I've got and make myself a better one later. Then I upgraded and I got from 7% to 7% the chance to inflict curse, so 0% increase, and then with the level 5 upgrade I got 6% chance to inflict ailments. Which is really good synergy for this build. I chose that over damage, for example. because I thought it's more important for the setup. So this one is probably one of the best rings you can put, but keep in mind this ring doesn't work well on bossing versus bosses like Suaris. In general, this build I would not suggest taking versus Suaris Exalted. I would suggest play this build in the tower, play this build on Dreamstones where you're not fighting enemies one-on-one. I mean, if you're fighting mini bosses one-on-one, that's fine. You're gonna be fine. But when it comes to Suaris, I think Suaris is the only boss I wouldn't recommend using this build against. It's just gonna be very unreasonable to use such a build that relies on killing enemies or killing enemies that are cursed. You would have to rework the build for bosses like Suaris, and this ring is one of the things you would want to change. The other ring that I use is Chromatic Circle, which is a green ring. So let me quickly show you that ring. Chromatic Circle, it's a void damage ring, so take a void damage 20 or higher and enchant. If you get good stat, keep enchanting. If you get a bad stat, stop enchanting, unless you don't have anything else, and then maybe you have to make a choice. Do I wanna keep enchanting if I've gotten one shitty row and then start upgrading? Or do you wanna wait until you get another ring, or if you already have another ring, and just try and min-max that one? So I decided to just keep enchanting, and yeah, I got air resistance, then I got fire resistance. First I got void damage, then I got the air resistance, then I got the fire resistance. I was like, okay, let's start upgrading. And the upgrade with the void damage gave me 0% at level 3. Or 1% or something like that, and then at level 5 I got another 14% void damage, and I was like, okay, this is not so bad. This thing gives me 50% void damage, which is acceptable, and I like it. So other worthy options to mention would be certain rings, like for example anything that's not priority attacks. Obviously this is not bad. Archon Fury, when you hit a weak point, of course you need to be good at hitting weak points, so I would stay away from it if you're not. Then you can get an Ancestral one, which is pretty decent. Again, you have to hit weak points for that one. Another good thing, this one is pretty nice, but again you have to hit weak points, but it's a good one. And if you take this one, your Overhealth no longer degenerates. That I'm not sure whether this is all of the time or after you hit a weak point, and if it's after you hit a weak point, for how many seconds that would last. But if you take this ring and it's all of the time without you needing to hit a weak point to get the Overhealth not degenerate, that means you can remove some of the augments I'm using. I'm using one augment that makes my Overhealth not degenerate, but I'm losing 25 health recovery for it. And more about the augments later. Another thing that you could consider, you can see this one, but you have to be good at doing takedowns. You have to be using your shield often to knock enemies, the little enemies away, to get the Archon Fury charge. Again, I don't think it's better as a choice. This one is not bad though. Gain Blessing of Power whenever you defeat a marked enemy. This one's also pretty good. Apply the Mark of Fragility to nearby enemies whenever you activate Archon Fury. In fact, this might be a very good option as a replacement. I wouldn't suggest this unless you're good at parrying. And this one is also pretty good, and it could synergize well. But keep in mind you're gonna take more damage, so be prepared to be squishier. Overall, you can try and use any other ring you like, but in general I think using this green ring for now is a good option until you get something better. And it can give you a good DPS increase by using that ring. Now we can move on to the Wife Stone. For the Wife Stone, since you saw the amulet and that we need to be critting to keep ourselves healed up, I strongly suggest using the healing, not the healing, but the crit chance, crit damage Archon tier. See, if you don't have a good Archon tier, you can use Metra's Ritual Stone, but first of all, it's not gonna give you crit damage, only crit chance. so it's inferior to that one, and then you're gonna have to waste resources enchanting it. Another good choice would be Cosmic Aether Stone. You get Archon Fury charge speed and Archon Fury damage. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all to use that one as an option. And then a third option would be the Obsidian Star, which is a blue one for void damage. You can find yourself something like void damage to cursed, or void damage dual blades damage, or void damage, or void damage crit chance, void damage crit damage, void damage Archon Fury damage, or void damage weapon technique damage. Something that's a good synergy for the build. Obviously would be better. Option number 4, Soul Shatter build-up. Not the best in SWAT, but still not a bad option. And then option number 5 would be Sunsteel's Forge Stone, and this can stack very well with a Vampiric Banner, which I will talk about in a moment. So you're getting health whenever you hit an enemy for those 10 seconds, which is pretty decent. But keep in mind, in my opinion, this one would be the best because the crit chance is needed, so we can be healing often. In general, I rarely use this thing. Keep in mind, I rarely use this thing because my overhealth is high enough most of the time to not need to heal. And sometimes I would want to take damage to my HP so I can use it, so I can get the DPS boost, but I don't. So don't rely too much on this, and this is where the banner comes handy. This is why I've taken the crit chance, crit damage banner, because this one at least I can use whenever it's ready. It's not fully upgraded, mine is not fully upgraded, and I might upgrade it right now in front of you. Hopefully we get something good. Let's see. Let's go and upgrade this banner, and let's see what we get. And see, now I have an option between crit chance, crit damage, chance to inflict ailments or resistances, or health whenever you defeat an enemy. And I would say crit chance would be probably the better option here, because we want more crits. And yeah, this is the banner I'm using. So for the banner, as I said, you put it down there, you get the crit chance, you get the crit damage, and then you get the secondary banner aura. Mine is weak point damage, dual blades damage, soul shatter build up, crit hit chance. It's not terrible. In fact, it's pretty decent for this setup. Another alternative choice would be this one: weapon technique charge speed, shield charge speed, Archon Fury charge speed. This is pretty good, especially the Archon Fury and weapon technique, because when you activate inner focus, any weapon technique related bonuses apply. So crit chance or crit damage to your northern technique, weapon technique damage, all of that applies to your damage while in inner focus. Another good thing you can consider would be, by the way, keep in mind Mess's Banderole is actually purple, and you would have to upgrade it. You would have to enchant it to get it. Then another good thing to consider would be the healing one, the vampiric one. I'm trying to find one of those. So this vampiric one is not bad. Restore HP whenever you hit an enemy. If you find one of those with maybe some crit chance and things like that, it won't be a bad option. And this one synergizes well with the Wife Stone I showed you for healing. I still would prefer the crit chance one, because I think we get enough healing as it is, as long as we are hitting with our amulet. But if you change the amulet, you might want to consider changing the pendant to the vampiric one. But you're gonna lose DPS, because look at that. This gives us crit damage as well, and you can get some bunch of other good stuff. And next I will talk about augments. In regards to augments, you would be seeing on the screen the arrangement of my augments. In fact, I'm gonna show you the arrangement of my augments pretty quickly, but since I'm lagging a lot when I'm showing you this, I will preview the augments on the other screen maybe. Actually, let's show you here. So this is something I think is a must-have item. Keep in mind, some of my augments I've only taken until level 2, because I know at level 3 upgrade it will be buggy and I would waste my stat upgrade, and something like this I wouldn't want to waste. So this one I've not upgraded all the way to the end. But yeah, this gives you 7 overhealth for every 20 might on adjacent augments. And right now, based on the might I've got here, which is 179, and the might I've got here, which is 165, I'm getting overhealth, I think 17 times 17 times 7 overhealth, which is pretty decent. So keep in mind, mine here gives me fire resistance, void damage, and damage to cursed enemies. And the fire resistance is probably the one thing I would like to change. Since we don't have a affix rerolling system, I'm gonna just have to wait to get a new void shell. So void shell I've combined with focus. And you can see that's another overhealth whenever you crit. So this overhealth when I crit and the other overhealth when I crit stuck together. And it's amazing. It's amazing synergy. And this one you can see I've taken something with weapon technique damage and then added void damage to it with the upgrade. The weapon technique damage didn't increase because of the bug. And then this one, I've taken something with soul shatter build up, polarity attack bonus, damage duration, which I didn't really need much. I would have changed it for web tech damage, for example, or damage to cursed. And then I've taken void damage with the final upgrade. So stacking a lot of void damage, as you can see. And this is gain the blessing of power whenever you perform a crit hit. Another reason why I want a lot of crit with this build. Then what have we here? This is something that's completely optional. You don't have to take it. You can replace it. You can take anything else. This is my source of a little bit of survivability. 11 to all resistances based on the vitality I've got here, which is 165 and 165. And on top of that, I get air, fire, and water resistance. And I've also added spirit because spirit would increase my web tech damage, which would increase my damage during inner focus. So if you don't want this presence of mind, there are other things to take. Obviously not this one, and obviously not. Actually, this one is not bad, but you have to be good at parrying if you want the blessing of endurance. Another thing you can take, there's probably where is it? There are things you can take. For example, this one. Whenever you blind an enemy, keep in mind you blind enemies with. You blind enemies whenever you activate inner focus. So if you use this, you would save up 15 points, and those 15 points would give you options to rework certain things. Things like that are kind of broken right now, so adjacent augments granting additional X vitality, X spirit, X might. People reporting those are bugged, not working like they are supposed to, and I can confirm. Another thing you can consider is damage for each element on the enemy if at least 2 adjacent augments are green. This one is pretty decent for that SWAT. And then this one is also not bad. Apply stasis to nearby enemies whenever you activate Archon Fury, but I don't think you can apply stasis on the big bosses. And you need to have blue adjacent augments, so maybe it's not gonna work there. Another thing you can consider, Blessing of Infusion, not a bad choice. And this is also not a bad choice, because there will be a lot of attacks reducing your overhealth, and every 20 seconds a blind is not a bad thing. This one is also not bad. Apply Mark of Weakness whenever you hit a weak point. I'm bad with hitting weak points, so I'm not using it. This one I would not consider because, I mean, it's still not bad. It's still not bad, but this is more suitable for an air build. But still consider putting it there. And that's kind of what you could do. And let's say you save 15 points. In theory, if you save those 15 points, that means you can put stronger versions of things here and here. But before we talk about those, let's talk about this. I think this is another thing I like. 20% weapon technique charge speed for 10 seconds whenever you perform a critical hit. And you're basically critting very often with the build the way I have it. This is something I strongly suggest there. If you don't want this, there are other things you can consider. Rampage would be one of those things, not Rampage but Black Star. You might want to consider putting a black star, but you would need to rework some things. Because this needs another few slots of red, and the only way to get this to work would be to put it here. And that would mean you're sacrificing this, and it's just turning into a different build. So I guess it's just not meant for this build. So another thing you could consider is this one: inflict poison whenever you hit an enemy with a polarity attack. If you combine this with replacing this thing to the one that gives you extra damage based on the number of augments, then you could inflict curse and poison with the polarity. The polarity does poison, and then you inflict curse with your dual blades. So it was here. Which one was it? I think it was this one. This one, Glamour. So if you combine Glamour with that the thing that inflicts poison, you can have curse from your dual blades and then poison from the polarity, and you can have some extra very high damage. So there is a weird build synergy, but it's doable. It's something you can do. And here I would suggest taking Archon Fury damage maybe as a 3-pointer if you go for copy pasting my setup, and I would suggest here taking just a fewer vitality one. But again, if you have more points, if you replace this, and then you can rework it. Keep in mind, my setup is not the meta setup, but it's something that I'm just making work because I've got those stats. Let me know in the comment section if you have some better ways of doing the augments, some better suggestions of doing the augments for an Overhealth crit build. So that is it for augments. Now let's move on to the skills segment. And here we are at the skills segment where I'm gonna show you how I've set up my passive skills, the skill grid. It's probably not meta. It's probably not the best. In fact, I've just noticed I'm missing a point in Soul Shatter. I'm not sure if it's intentional. It's probably intentional. But yeah, I've decided to max out weapon technique, max out crit chance, Archon Fury, crit damage, and max out recovery for this build. I'm not sure whether I really needed that recovery maxing out. Probably didn't, and probably those 5 points would be better off spent elsewhere. 4 points into Soul Shatter. If you want, you can put 5 points. You would just have to remove a point from elsewhere. 5 points ailments because of this extra damage for each ailment on an enemy, and this damage for each ailment on an enemy. Even if you're only doing one ailment, that's still 35% extra damage. And the chance to inflict ailments is pretty good. It's pretty good, 8% chance. I mean, I wouldn't recommend removing points from here. I wouldn't recommend removing points from crit damage, crit chance, Archon Fury as well. And I wouldn't recommend removing points from Vitality. Actually, from Might and Spirit and all stats, I wouldn't recommend removing points. You could remove points from Vitality. It is doable. If you think you've got enough Vitality as it is, then fine. Then remove the points from Vitality and just be a little bit squishier. 1 point into Shield Throw for me is a must-have. 1 point into Polarity, Rampage and Breach is a must-have. And 1 point into Finesse is a must-have. Some people would prefer having more points into Finesse, like 2 points. Some people would prefer having more points into Breach or more points into the Polarity. I wouldn't suggest taking Siphon. Sundering Slam you can try taking to make the enemies bosses take more damage. Level 2 Sundering Slam is pretty fine and good, I think, to take. Weapon timing, I'm not good at it, so I've only put 1 point there. And banners, you could try and put banner recharge speed. It's very good synergy for the build. So if you remove the points from Vitality, put them into banners. In fact, I'm probably gonna experiment by removing those Vitality points and putting them into banners maybe. Weak points, I think 4 points is nice. I don't need the proc because I'm not good at hitting the weak points. So I guess it just depends on your preference. Again, the recovery, I'm not sure whether it's worth it, so I'm probably gonna experiment removing the recovery, putting it into banners first, and see how that goes. I don't think the recovery affects overhealth healing. If it does, they need to make it clear to us. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it's flexible. It's not a meta setup in any way, but maybe it could be. Maybe it could be with slight tweaks here and there. In general, just take whatever you feel confident. I just think the must-haves are weapon techniques, max, crit chance, crit damage, Archon Fury, might, all stats, spirit, ailments, and resistances may be maxed out. The rest is just optional and up to you how to spend it. So let's just show you some more gameplay footage while I talk how I play the build, and then wrap up everything afterwards. Now let's talk in this segment about how I play the build and how I try to maybe use my skills and techniques and things like that. In general, it's not that difficult. Sometimes you might actually wanna before encountering a boss, for example, like a boss like this, if you're doing a hunt as part of a Dreamstone, you might want to build up your Archon Fury, so you can activate the Archon Fury and do a ton of damage. You can see they die pretty quickly if your Archon Fury is up, and that's without even activating Inner Focus. Of course, obviously for bigger bosses, you would want to activate Inner Focus and stack it with Archon Fury and stack it with your banner. Sometimes just the banner and Archon Fury is enough. Sometimes just the banner and Inner Focus is enough. But again, with Inner Focus you can do a ton more damage to those enemies. On fights like Gauntlet, you would want to probably save up the Archon Fury and not use it right away, and just use it for the ones you want, unless you have very fast recharge speed and you're using the recharging banner. Then probably the sooner you use it, the better it is, because the sooner it will be ready for reuse. The same goes for the Inner Focus. You can see here I only use the banner on the first enemy, and Archon Fury is charged up for the next enemy, and for the next enemy I'm using Inner Focus and Archon Fury. You can see the damage is it's real, it's amazing. Even though he was kind of annoying and pushed me, even with my shield I did 20-something thousand, and that's not on a shield build and not on a spirit build. So yeah, I think it's a key thing to know is positioning. Dual blades are a fast weapon, so you can easily start DPSing, and you can also bind with your Inner Focus. And Inner Focus used at the right timing to bind the enemies gives you a nice window of opportunity to just do a ton of DPS and get enemies down. Don't forget to soul shatter when it's ready and position yourself the right way, as well as try to be aware of your surroundings to get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters, and all sorts of wooters like that. You could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally, you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.